Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Inclusive Design 24, 2023, brought to you in partnership with our platinum sponsors, Google and Intopia, and our gold supporters, Barrier Break and Tetralogical. A reminder before we begin that ID24 is a respectful community, and you can find our code of conduct on the Inclusive Design 24 website. You can also follow us on Mastodon, and if you have questions for the presenter, you can post them using the hashtag ID24 hashtag, or post them in the YouTube chat for our Q&A at the end of the session. We'll be monitoring that chat for questions and collecting them. I'm now absolutely thrilled to be joined by my guest host, Stuart, who will be introducing our speaker. Stuart, over to you.
Thank you, Eric. It's lovely to be here and lovely to be your co-host for this session. I would love to introduce Prakriti Chawla, who is giving us her wonderful presentation on For the Unseen, Inclusive Design for People with Invisible Disabilities. Prakriti, over to you.
Thank you, Eric and Stuart. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. Before I introduce myself, I have a story that I'd like to tell. In a galaxy far, far away, but not so far also, there lived a bear called Bingo. Bingo loved watching motion pictures, or as he called them, movies, because the characters moved in them, obviously. He had a favorite few that he liked to watch over and over again, because they brought him a lot of comfort. But Bingo's friend Jojo hated that Bingo did not like watching new things. Bingo's favorite movie was called Jurassic World. It had a lot of cool dinosaurs, and Bingo loved the story. He had watched it so many times that he could recite the dialogues along with the cast. When Bingo was not watching movies, he was either making cute things with clay or listening to tunes that he liked to call groovies, because he could groove to them, obviously. And Bingo's favorite tune maker was Taylor Swift, and he often listened to her until nighttime, lying in bed with the lights off. In fact, he did not like lights at all. They gave him a headache. So you would often find him sitting in the dark or somewhere with very less yellow light. Sometimes when Bingo and Jojo would go out to eat, Jojo would complain that Bingo was being unfair because he never wanted to eat anything or anywhere new. Bingo only liked certain foods because he did not like not knowing the taste of what he was going to eat beforehand. So Bingo ate the same thing every day for a long time until Jojo made him or forced him to try something new and he liked it. Then that would become his constant food for a while. Bingo's story is not just his. It's a tale of neurodiversity. And I share a part of that story. Hi, I'm Prakriti, and Bingo is a part of who I am. I'm a UX and social designer with a specialization in inclusive design for people with disabilities. I'm based in New Delhi in India, and I've been navigating this fascinating space for a solid 7 years now. But what really sets me apart is that I've had a lifelong journey in the disability space. My incredible mother was the first guide into the world of inclusion and disability for me. She instilled in me from a very young age the significance of these concepts, and it's a legacy that I've carried with me throughout my life. Growing up, I had the privilege of having a diverse circle of friends with various disabilities, each with their unique strengths and varying support needs. It was through these friendships that I started to see the stark realities in the world. As I moved forward in my career, one thing became abundantly clear. My friends who had possessed remarkable talents often faced numerous barriers when it came to access and opportunities. That was the wake-up call for me. It highlighted the stark reality that our world was never designed to cater to their needs. This realization became the driving force behind my passion for inclusive design. Fast forward to today, and here I am before you, thrilled beyond measure to be sharing this platform with amazing individuals who've had somewhat similar journeys to mine. And it's truly an honor to be part of this collective mission. Now, let me dive into what I do professionally. My journey has led me to conduct extensive research into the experiences of caregivers of people with intellectual disabilities. I've rolled up my sleeve and put my design skills to work, crafting accessible digital products and services that are making a difference. And that's not all. I've been a part of a team shaping the criteria that holds organizations accountable for disability inclusion in the workplace. But you know what really gets me going? It's not just about work. It's about standing up for what's right, advocacy for accessibility and inclusion in every corner of my life. It's about creating safe spaces where individuals with diverse needs can thrive. So let's embark on this conversation together because it's all about creating this world where everyone gets an equal shot. Now that you know a bit about me, let's dive into the heart of our discussion today. That is the importance of inclusive design for neurodivergent individuals. Imagine our lives as a journey through a dense forest. Each tree represents a unique aspect of diversity or neurodiversity. And as we explore this forest, we'll discover how inclusive design can create pathways that make the journey easier for everyone. The forest may seem overwhelming, but every tree, every challenge is an opportunity to understand and design for neurodivergent people. As someone very famous said very long ago, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So think of this journey towards inclusivity as a series of steps. Each step we take towards the forest brings us closer to a more inclusive digital world. Neurodiversity, it's a spectrum. It's like the constellations above us. It's diverse, it's dazzling, encompasses a spectrum of conditions, each with its own constellation of strengths and challenges. The conditions that come under neurodivergence are autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Down syndrome, sensory disabilities, and so much more. In our journey today, we learn to appreciate these unique constellations. Bingo's story highlights some key aspects of neurodivergence, such as sensory issues and the need for predictability. Many neurodivergent individuals like Bingo have unique preferences and challenges that can significantly impact their digital experiences. Inclusive design isn't just about making products accessible. It's about creating spaces where everyone can thrive and feel comfortable. In a way, if we think about it, the neurodiverse landscape is as vital to humanity as biodiversity is to our planet's ecosystems. Our quest for inclusivity is akin to embarking on a grand adventure. It's about designing digital products that bridge the gaps and clear the path for neurodivergent travelers. Mind you, we are not creating separate trails, but only opening doors to accessibility and inclusion for everyone on this journey. Steve Jobs said that design is not just what it looks like and feels like. Design is how it works. Inclusive design isn't just a buzzword. It's a transformative approach that benefits everyone. By designing for neurodiversity, we create products and services that are more user-friendly for everyone, not just those with neurodivergent conditions or any other disabilities. This is also known as something called the curb cut effect, where if you place a ramp in the park, it's not just for people who use wheelchairs, but it's also for people who use strollers, and they can come and walk with their babies. Inclusion isn't about making exceptions. It's about designing products that are flexible enough to accommodate a wide range of needs. In the realm of inclusive design, we often find ourselves at a critical juncture, a crossroads that leads to vastly different outcomes. The decision is choosing between a well-paved road that leads to user satisfaction and an overgrown path with a lot of obstacles that leads to frustration. Imagine a digital environment filled with clutter, complex interfaces overloaded with an abundance of elements, users struggling to decipher the purpose of each button, menu, item, leading to so much frustration and eventually abandonment. This complexity mirrors the early iterations of the Windows operating system, which I'm sure we all remember. Now imagine a website or an application that is designed with simplicity in mind. Unnecessary clutter is removed and the user interface is intuitive. Buttons are well spaced, text is easy to read, navigation is straightforward. For example, the Apple's iOS design, which prioritizes simplicity, making it accessible to a wide range of users, including those with cognitive disabilities. In one of the projects that I was working on, I was redesigning a mobile website where the main aim was to simplify the UI while keeping the purpose of the platform intact. So we had to reduce the primary colors from 5 to 2, and we created a standardized design system that would maintain consistency. Sometimes organizations or companies want to prioritize fancy looking or cool looking design, but they often forget that it needs to be functional. I always take the example of apps that we use every day. I mean, look at Instagram, WhatsApp, calendar, multiple apps that we use every day, and we don't even think about it. All of these apps are prioritizing functionality while keeping the design consistent and simple. Now let's visualize a scenario where users are logged into a one-size-fits-all experience. They have no control over font size, color schemes, or any other settings. Such limitations create barriers for individuals with disabilities. An example is a website with a fixed font size and color combinations. It alienates users with visual or sensory requirements. Now, on the flip side, we picture a digital platform where users have the freedom to customize their experience. They can adjust the font size, they can choose the color scheme that suits their preferences, and even modify sensory settings like reducing animations, just so that they can create a more comfortable environment for themselves. A prime example is the Windows operating system now, which allows for personalizing the interface to a huge extent, and it benefits individuals with visual or sensory sensitivities. In one of my most recent projects, I was working on getting an accessible job portal developed, especially for people with disabilities. what we realized was that we needed to provide personalized journeys to people with different disabilities from the starting. So we needed to ask their preferences at the start, adjust the accessibility settings according to that from the beginning. And once they set their preferences, they can always go back and customize the website further according to their own unique needs. This allows the user to feel seen and acknowledged at the start itself, and it's a huge game changer. On the left, what you see is language which is vague and confusing. Content and instructions that are riddled with jargons make it difficult for users to grasp essential information. An example of this would be certain medical websites that use complex medical terminology. Often when we have a headache, we'll go on to Google and type, I have a headache, what do I do? And it will give us this huge list of diseases that we could be having. And it leaves us bewildered and it leaves us anxious. Whereas in the world of effective and inclusive design, communication is crystal clear. Content and instructions are presented using plain language. They're free from unnecessary jargon or ambiguity. I mean, take the Google search engine, for instance. It presents search results in a straightforward manner, ensuring that users, including those with language-related challenges, can find information easily. I have a very fun example to share here. So I was working on designing an app for women in rural India, northern rural India. And one of the main considerations was language, because in northern rural India, Hindi is the most spoken language. And also, the literacy rate is not that much. So what we did was we designed the website or the app in Hindi, but we made it in written form of Hindi, which is very different from the spoken form of Hindi. And when we brought it to the users, they were like, we don't understand what is written here. What does this mean? So we had to go back and look at how and what we had written, changed it to the spoken form of the language, and they understood it, they liked it. So language plays a huge role. Now let's envision a world where sensory overload is the norm. Excessive visuals, animations, and sounds assaulting the senses without alternatives for adjustment. An example of this is video games that bombard players with non-stop action and sensory stimuli. Now think of a streaming platform that offers sensory-friendly viewing modes. These modes can reduce background noise. They limit animated distractions and just create a calm viewing experience. Like Netflix, it has audio description features which enhances accessibility for visually impaired users. I'm sure a lot of us use Spotify. Lately, whenever you play a song, it opens the player where an animated video of the artist is playing on loop with the song. Now, I listen to a lot of songs while working because it helps me focus. With this, though, with this update that came, I tend to sometimes, when I click on the play button, I tend to get stuck on that screen for a while, where I'm just watching that video on loop. And it's distracting. It's really distracting. But when I tried to switch this off in the settings, I couldn't find the option to. Maybe they do have a off button for this, but it's not easily accessible. This is how small decisions at the design and development stage can have a huge impact on users. Now, in this journey, the voices of neurodivergent individuals are often unheard. Design processes proceed without their inputs, and it results in products that fail to meet their specific needs. Collaboration with people with disabilities should be the norm, not the exception. Their unique insights shape the design process, leading to products and services that are truly inclusive. The development of the read aloud feature in ebook readers, for example, it's a testament to the power of collaboration in inclusive design. And they are key, especially in UX, even if you're not designing for disabilities. It has so many advantages as it leads to creation of products and services that users actually want. So whenever I start any project, I make sure to conduct formal, informal interviews, group discussions with potential users. But to do this, it's always good to have some visuals so that they can look at the design and suggest things on the spot. As we stand at this crossroads, we must recognize that the choice we make has far-reaching consequences. Effective inclusive design leads to digital landscapes that are welcoming and accommodating to all, while ineffective design perpetuates barriers and inclusion. Have you ever found yourself pondering over what do you want to eat, watch during mealtime, dinner, lunch? The abundance of choices on online streaming and OTT platforms often leads to a decision-making paralysis, especially in me. It always leaves me with cold dinner. And this phenomena is called Hicks law. It's a psychological principle that predicts the time and effort that is required for making decisions increases with the number of available options. I'll get to why I'm talking about this. YouTube is a platform that has taken significant strides in catering to individuals with invisible disabilities. While it may seem like a casual platform for entertainment, YouTube's inclusive design initiatives have made a profound impact on its users. Let's dive deeper into the strategies that they've used, because they've influenced the viewing experiences of countless users, including those with neurodivergent needs. One standout feature is the abundance of bite-sized content. YouTube has a plethora of short videos, which keeps users from falling into binge watching spirals, which can sometimes lead to negative consequences. For many, especially those with invisible disabilities or those who are neurodivergent, this bite-sized format helps maintain a healthy balance between entertainment and daily routines. Another essential aspect is the silent previews of videos. When users hover over the video thumbnails, they are provided with silent previews with an option to switch on the volume. It allows them to understand what they're signing up for without being bombarded by sudden sounds or visuals. This feature helps users, including those with sensory sensitivities, avoid anticipatory anxiety and make informed choices. Subscriptions. Subscriptions to channels plays a crucial role in inclusion for invisible disabilities, because it caters to the aspect of wanting predictability. It means consistent access to new content, but in familiar settings from familiar sources. And for many individuals, this sense of predictability and routine is immensely comforting. It ensures that they can enjoy content without the anxiety of navigating unfamiliar territory. These thoughtful features highlight how YouTube, through inclusive design, caters to diverse needs, ensuring that its platform is a welcoming space for users with invisible disabilities. It's a testament to how design can transform digital spaces and improve user experiences on such a large scale. In inclusive design, especially for people with invisible disabilities, advocacy is the guiding compass that steers us. Inclusive design isn't just a mere concept. It's something that we all need to share and something that we all need to work towards. It's like a collective mission to create these spaces where everyone can not only participate, but truly be comfortable, thrive, and fully be able to access them. To be an effective ally for neurodivergent individuals, I'll share some actionables with concrete examples. It's very important to be aware. Take the time out to learn about different conditions, their challenges, strengths. You could read books, articles, watch documentaries, YouTube. YouTube is literally my school for everything. But just learn and just try and understand what it means. As an ally, active listening is key. So creating safe spaces where people feel like they're safe to share their experiences without judgment. For example, if a colleague with autism is trying to tell you something, give them your full attention and ask specific open-ended questions and avoid interrupting. It's very essential to understand that everyone's journey is unique. Everyone's condition is unique because neurodiversity is literally such a huge spectrum. So if someone is sharing their sensory issues with you or any other issues, acknowledge the challenge and express support, but avoid saying, I understand if you haven't experienced it. This is something that's so important, and it's something that we all can do in our own spaces as well. We can encourage our organizations, we can encourage our communities to embrace neurodiversity and create supportive environments. For example, if you could encourage your workplace to conduct accessibility audits for their websites, for their apps, ensuring that they meet the needs of people with invisible disabilities. If you have design or technical skills, you could offer your expertise to create more inclusive digital solutions. For example, if you are a web designer, you could work with neurodivergent testers to improve website accessibility, such as optimizing language or colors. The most important thing, however, is to challenge stereotypes and debunk stereotypes. There are a lot of stereotypes that are existing currently where people assume a lot of stuff about people who are on the neurodivergent spectrum. It's important to correct these misconceptions by sharing accurate information, but after cross-checking. Lastly, we have to understand, because people with invisible disabilities or people who are on the neurodivergent spectrums may have different communication styles or sensory needs. So it's important to be patient and flexible. A very simple example, in a meeting, for example, you could allow extra time to process information before expecting a response. See, our small actions make a significant impact in creating a more inclusive and accepting world for neurodivergent folks. In closing, I leave you with this. You are important and your voice matters, so use it. And thank you for being a part of this amazing session. If you would like to reach me, here are my contact details. And I'll invite Eric and Stuart back. And you can post your questions, your insights, comments in the chat. Thank you.
Wonderful. What a absolutely lovely talk. Thank you so much for such a entertaining story and for the parallels that you drew. I really appreciated your insights and your input about all the different kind of considerations that go into truly inclusive design. I have a few questions, but I think Stuart had a really good one, so I'd like to kick us off with that one, if not to put the spot on you, Stuart, but
No, I'm happy to jump in, Eric. Prakriti, echoing Eric, it's wonderful to share this. I think in the accessibility community, we all know that there's still a lot of work we need to do around cognitive disability and improving our ability to meet that community that we have out there. Now, one of those important ways of doing that is what's generally referred to as that co-designing involving people with disabilities, that nothing about us without us saying. A lot of businesses, that's not part of their normal practice at the moment. Do you have any advice or suggestions about how an organization could start that process to be more inclusive at including that community as part of their design process?
Yes, so even how I have done this in the past, I'll share an example of that so that it helps, in translating to how other people could do it. So because I had the privilege of having the access to this community from a very young age, I always had access to individuals with disabilities who I could go and speak to. But once I started working with companies and organizations, I realized that it's very difficult for them to directly reach out to such people, right? But it's really important. So, for example, the job portal that I was working on, the accessible job portal that I was working on, we tried to reach out to experts within the field through LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is a great resource for reaching out to experts, thought leaders, posting questions that you may have. We created a simple Google form for a call for volunteers for testing the accessibility of this portal. And we posted it on LinkedIn. We sent emails to different organizations. And I mean, the response was amazing. So if you're willing to, there's a lot of options available. The easiest being for organizations to just simply post on LinkedIn. I mean, that's like the simplest thing that I can think of to start off with. So it does yield results. So I would definitely recommend that.
Thank you very much for that, Prakriti. Eric, I think you've got one or two questions there that are hovering. I might handball over to you and we can bounce backwards and forth.
Yeah, I love it. Before we get to the ones I was considering, we just had a question come in via YouTube chat from Jock Stender. So thank you for asking. They're wondering if you can, quote, can you supply us with what you consider outstanding websites whose audience is cognitively disabled adults?
That is a great question. I don't think currently there are apps or websites that are very specifically catering to only cognitive disabilities. But in my experience, and why I actually shared the example of YouTube, is because I know multiple people uh, who have severe to profound intellectual disabilities, mild intellectual disabilities, who have Down syndrome, autism, ADHD. They love YouTube. And I'm not kidding when I say this, but the YouTube is actually something that is so overlooked when we talk about, uh, you know, uh, inclusion for invisible disabilities, because um, it's it's providing them a very consistent form of entertainment, but at the same time, it's providing them that uh, need for leisure. And we know that for a lot of people who are on the neurodivergent spectrum, they have a lot of difficulty in making friends. They have a lot of difficulties in maintaining social relationships. So it's YouTube is something that they actually are on all the time. And I'm not even kidding. Like, I've seen people who will be on YouTube for hours on end. And it's completely, then it's not just entertainment that they're viewing. It's a multiple diverse set of videos. It could be music, it could be just plain games that they could be playing through YouTube videos. So I have a very interesting example here. So I have a friend who really loves the Guess the Song game, and they can play it for hours on, and YouTube has lots of Guess the Song videos. So it just plays 10 seconds of the song, and then it gives you around 10 seconds to just guess what the song was, and then it gives you the answer. So it really, stimulates their mind. So just an interesting example that I could think of.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And then I think you touched on a really important point there as well, which is, when we talk about accessibility a lot, it often comes down to like banking or healthcare or, quote, like important services, but like entertainment, I think is just as, or if not more important, especially for the people who, get a lot of pleasure out of it, and making those experiences accessible is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jock has just said thank you in the chat, and I'd like to echo that sentiment. Let's see. Another question, and this one's from me, and I'm curious, have you ever encountered a situation when you're designing where it was a case of making something too simple?
Yes. So I'm inherently a very visual person. So uh, while and this is a project that was quite a long time ago, and I was designing an app for people with intellectual disabilities, and we were doing um, a version which would be for the person with disability themselves, and then a version which would be for the caregiver.
Mhm.
Now, that's a very thin line, the person with disability and catering to their caregivers. So that's a line where we have to really think about, because that exactly comes in where the the module that we designed for the person with disability was, of course, simple, very easy to navigate, and they could uh, easily see what their schedule would be. But for the caregiver, we didn't differentiate. And that's where the problem came in. Because that same simplicity, when you translated into the caregiver module of it, we got a feedback that this doesn't look nice. We don't like this. Like, why have you made it all white and like one simple gray? Put more colors, have some animations for us. Like, just the fact that we have to really think of, there's designing for people with disabilities. Of course, we have to look at that in terms of, giving them options to customize and make things simpler for themselves. But while at the same time, not making it very dull for the average user who likes viewing more colors, who likes the fact that there's a plane flying across the screen while they're, on the app itself. So yes, I mean, great question. And that just took me back to that time.
Yeah, thank you. I love that answer. Like, caregiving is such a complicated and emotionally intense thing sometimes. And I think like your observation is spot on there of, it's sometimes you can forget that for both sides of the equation, there's a person on the other end using it. Yeah, I think we have time for one more question if you're okay with that.
Yes.
Stuart, can I put you on the spot for the last one?
Happy to put on the spot, Eric, and I agree. We could have a whole different conversation around that, complexities of designing for covering the amazing diversity we have across society. But Prakriti, what I am interested in is you mentioned in your presentation about one of the suggestions to get an accessibility review or audit of websites to sort of help to meet those requirements. We're looking forward to make something more inclusive. Now, unfortunately, one of the little challenges to that is that the web content accessibility guidelines are not exactly the most comprehensive when it comes to covering off on the issues and needs we need to be looking for and covering for when it comes to cognitive disability. Would there be any other important resources you can suggest for our audience to maybe be considering in addition to the web content accessibility guidelines, which are really important, but are there supporting information out there that you've come across that could be also helpful for people to be creating these really inclusive environments?
There are multiple resources out there if you go looking for them. But I would stand strong on the fact that when I spoke about accessibility audits and testing, it was mostly in terms of having people with those disabilities tested out. Because of course, we can have guidelines and we can have resources which will tell us, okay, we need to increase the font size to 20 pixels or 24 pixels and reduce the contrast to this. But unless we are going to get multiple people with disabilities actually test it out, I think it won't be truly inclusive. So again, I'll go back to my point of it's very easy to get access to people with disabilities if you're willing to look for them. So just the simple fact of just posting maybe a call for volunteers or a call for testers online on forums which actually are catering to people with disabilities specifically, maybe, or just forums like LinkedIn. I mean, I've had that experience where multiple times I've posted these and we've had an immense response, and we've gotten more than 100 people to sign up just to test it and voluntarily. And that is, I think, amazing, because if we can get that, any resource or any guideline that we follow would fall short anytime before, we test with real users. So I would still stand strong on that.
It's completely supportive of that, Prakriti. I agree 100%. I think it's one of those challenges we have as an industry is it's getting the language around these different testing, important testing regimes. From when you hear accessibility testing, we sort of think more around the standards testing. That's why I tend to use the language of usability testing to really focus on those end users that we should be involving in the process. And so, yeah, I agree 100%. And it's a great answer, Prakriti. Eric, I might throw back to you.
Yeah. And just to kind of build off of that before we go, like one of my favorite quotes, just exactly what you mentioned, is like, you want to know? Just ask. Yeah. Again, I wanted to communicate how much I really enjoyed this talk, and thank you again for taking the time to deliver it. My heart is full.
Thank you.
So for all y'all who are watching us on YouTube, either live, thank you for that, or on a recording of this talk, if you enjoyed this session, you can press that like button, and you can, as mentioned, you can also use the subscribe feature to be alerted to updates. And you can visit us at our channel page at youtube.com/inclusivedesign24 to be kept in the loop for future events. Inclusive Design 24 is brought to you with thanks from our supporters, Google, Intopia, Barrier Break, Tetralogical, Intuit, Infoaxia, and the law offices of Laney Feingold. And we'll be back at the hour with our next session. Hope you all can make it.
Thank you. Bye.